Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel, and I think we're kind of in a dry season in the NHL right now. I'm not saying that because of the playoff matchups, because those are super exciting, but there's just no trades or signings right now, and I thought it would be a really good time to update my top 10 prospect pools in the NHL before we get into all this playoff, draft, free agency craziness. So yeah, and I think it's a good time with all the junior seasons ending pretty close, going into the playoffs for those. So yeah, before we get into all that craziness, we're going to do the top 10 prospect pools in the NHL, in my opinion. And my only requirement for this is less than 25 NHL games played. So yeah, let's get right into it. And the first team we're going to talk about is an honorable mention, and that's the Columbus Blue Jackets. I know a lot of people were going to go at me in the comments because I didn't put them in the top 10. And the reason is Caden Lindstrom hasn't even played this year. He has 0 games. You can see there, 0 games. And Denton Mateychuk has played more than 25 NHL games. So we're going to leave Columbus off the list. I think they're pretty weak without those two guys. And, well, not without Lindstrom, but we just have so much uncertainty around him. But yeah, so that's my honorable mention. I think also the Winnipeg Jets, Ducks, Calgary, they were all pretty close. But yeah, let's get right into our top 10 here. And that top 10 is going to start with the St. Louis Blues at the number 10 spot. For each of those, we're going to go forwards, defense, goalies, put them all separate, and then talk about it overall. The first one, for the forwards, St. Louis, they have Dalibor Dvorsky. I love this man. He is excellent. He's a Slovakian center, super well-rounded, and he's really shown that he can score. If you look at the World Juniors, he's played for the World Juniors 3 years in a row. 3 points, 6 points, 9 points last year as the captain of Slovakia. He's shown he can show up in the big moments. He's shown that he can be a leader, and he's shown he can drive a line, which was a lot of people were saying that he couldn't drive a line in his draft year. I love him for that. I think he's going to be a really excellent offensive player, really underrated. He did well to adjust to that North American ice last year with Sudbury. Now he looks excellent, and I think he may even be a first-line center in the NHL. He's one of my favorite prospects in hockey. Yeah, I'm really a big fan of Dalibor Dvorsky. Another guy is Jimmy Snuggerud. He is, well, you've heard a lot about him. He's an excellent goal scorer. That is his calling card. 2 years ago, he had an excellent season, took a bit of a step back last year with the University of Minnesota. Now he's captaining the team. He's having an even better year, and I think he's going to fit in as a really safe top 6 guy. You can always rely on him for 30-plus goals probably, maybe even another level if he hits that. I also am a big fan of Otto Stenberg. He's a solid, I think he's going to be a solid middle sixer. Played at the World Juniors. He was solid there. This year with the SHL, got off to a bit of a slow start. So he's over in the AHL right now and adjusting well. I'm a big fan of Otto Stenberg as well. And the Blues also really love to take European guys who are playing in the CHL for some reason. Adam Yeko, he's from last draft. He's a big guy playing in Edmonton right now. He's solid. Thomas Mercick and Jacob Stankel and Juraj Pesarik, sorry I butchered that. All of them are playing really well in the CHL right now, so it's good to get those guys adjusted to North American ice. I really mess with their strategy there, and yeah, I'm a big fan of the Blues forward pool. And on their defense, Theo Lindstein is their top guy. I'm a fan of him as well. He's my favorite defensive prospect from them. Not doing anything too crazy offensively, but they don't really need him to in the SHL. He's smooth, he's calm and collected, smooth skating, and I think his game will adjust really well to the North American style. I think he's going to be a solid top 4 defenseman, and you won't really have to think about him. Adam Jiricek is the guy they drafted 16th overall last draft, right? Yeah, 16th overall. I don't really see it with Adam Jiricek, I'm not going to lie. If you look at his stats, like he barely played last year in his draft year. Still drafted 16th overall, though, maybe because of the name. I thought he was okay at the World Juniors. He's been really slow to adjust to the OHL this season, just kind of getting outmatched there. And it's unfortunate to see because I think he has a lot of potential. We'll see if he can pick it up next year. Again, I think he definitely has the potential to prove me wrong. When he's at his best, he's a really strong player. but we just haven't really seen that yet from Yurchek. So Theo Lindstein still reigns as my top defensive prospect from them. Quentin Burns and Lucas Fisher are both captaining their teams in the OHL and putting up solid offensive numbers. And then Colin Ralph, he's a solid defensive defenseman they picked in the second round of this draft. I think he could also be a bottom pair guy. And for the goalies, they don't have too much since they have Joel Hofer in the NHL. Colton Ellis has looked pretty solid in the AHL this year, 920 save percentage, so we'll see if he turns into anything. Overall, I really think this is a great pool from the Blues, pretty underrated. It has a nice blend of a few high offensive guys, mostly really good complementary players that are going to be really quite just well-rounded and will complement the Blues' already strong core. I think they could definitely do with a few extra offensive guys, a few superstars, but the Blues will only continue to add more prospects. I'm a big fan of the Blues prospects pool, and that's why it lands at number 10 for me. Next up, at the number 9 spot, we have the Buffalo Sabres. And for their forwards, Constant Helenius is my top guy for them, drafted in the last draft. And he's playing in the AHL this season, adjusting pretty well, a little bit slow to start. But to me, I'm a big fan of him. He projects as a safe future top 6 center, well-rounded. He didn't blow me away at the World Juniors. I thought he was going to be one of the best players. He was a little bit quiet. I still enjoy his play. I think he's going to be a safe, strong player. Their next guy I want to talk about is Noah Ostlund, because I also think he's going to be a well-rounded top 6 center. I think he could be a second liner even. I'm a big fan of him. Really good hockey sense, and yeah, he's doing pretty good in the AHL this year, so we'll see if he turns into a top 6 NHLer, which I think he will. Isaac Rosen, he's also on the cusp. If you look, he's putting up really big numbers in the AHL this season. I'm surprised the Buffalo hasn't given him more of a chance in the NHL, but yeah, I think he has a lot of talent, and he could definitely be a top 6 guy as well. And Anton Wahlberg, I really enjoyed watching him at the World Juniors. To me, he screams just a safe middle 6 center with power play 2 potential, just a solid all-around player. I'm a big fan of him. I think he has a high floor. And then they have other guys. I like Oliver Nadeau as well, brother of Bradley Nadeau. It's been a bit slow to adjust, but I do think he could be a bottom 6er. I think Prokhor Poltapov could be a bottom 6er, Kisakov, and Jake Richards is having a good season as well in the NCAA. So overall, a very strong, well-rounded prospect pool, I think. Maxim Sherbak is their top guy at defense, drafted in the second round, last draft. He looked solid at the World Juniors for Slovakia, was definitely their number 1 defenseman. He's doing pretty well in the NCAA this year with Michigan State, and I think he could turn into a top 4 defenseman. I think he has another level to go offensively, but yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Adam Kleber was the second round pick from this draft. Yeah, he was, but I think he's just a smooth, safe bottom pair defenseman, and I think Gavin McCarthy can maybe be an NHLer. Overall, not the strongest defensive pool. That's definitely their weakness, but I do like Sherbak quite a lot, as I said. For their goalies, Devin Levi's graduated, so Scott Ratzlaff takes over as the top guy. He's one of the best goalies in the AHL or in the WHL this year. Also rocking the assistant captain, pretty awesome. And then Topias Leinonen, always butcher his name, but he looks pretty solid as well. He was looking a little bit shaky over in Finland. He goes to Sweden, he's having a better year. So I think all of these guys could have a solid chance of being NHLers. And overall, again, kind of like the Blues, it's a really nice blend of talent and just well-rounded players. And I think it works even better for the Sabres, because if you look at their core now, it's so talented already. And I think they could definitely all be really good complements to this core, and that's kind of what the Sabres need right now. They need a more well-rounded bottom 6. They need a right-handed defenseman like Sherbak. I like their pool a lot, and that's why it lands at number 9 on my list. At number 8, we have the Utah Hockey Club, and I think this is a really underrated prospect pool as well, led by my favorite prospect in hockey, Tej Aginla. I could talk about this guy for hours. I love him. I don't want to say a power forward. I guess you could call him like a modern age power forward. He's fast. He's hard hitting. He's competitive. He's a great playmaker. He's a great scorer. I love everything about this dude. Tej Aginla, one of my favorite prospects in hockey. Does he carry this prospect a little bit? Yes, but he's worth it. He's amazing. Their next best prospect or forward prospect is Daniil Butte, and I think this guy's underrated as well. He was drafted 12th overall a few years ago, if you remember. He was kind of like that was a big surprise. He was projected to be like a second rounder. He's slowly cooking over in the QMJ, or not the KHL. He's slowly cooking over in the KHL. And is he crazy flashy? No. I think this guy's huge potential, because look at him. He's 6'6", but he's decent. He's a decent skater, and I think his offensive instincts are really good. Put him in the OHL, and I think he's putting up 120 points right now. So I'm a big fan of Daniil Butte. I think it'll be a few more years before he hits the NHL, but when he gets there, I think he's going to be a solid top sixer. I think an underrated guy is Noel Nord. I'm a big fan of this guy playing in the OHL right now with the Greyhounds. He's really strong. Like, what is he, 6'2"? Great skater, and he's just well-rounded. He screams a really good middle sixer to me, like a good middle six winger, and I think Utah needs a shot of that right now. I think Vadim Mraz is another underrated guy at 21 years old, putting up really good numbers with the KHL with his hometown Belarus team. Owen Allard has a high floor. You remember seeing him at the World Juniors last year. And Cole Baudouin, he was their first-round pick in the last draft. I'm not a huge fan of him, but he looks like a solid. He'll definitely be an NHLer at the very least. So, yeah, not a bad forward prospect pool. I think quite underrated. At the defense, Dmitry Simashev, he was in that same draft that Butte was at, number 6 overall. That was not expected either. And I think he's a solid defenseman. I don't think he's going to be like a top pair guy or anything. I think this guy is really underrated. He's smooth. He's very smart. And I think he plays a pretty low-risk game. I think he has another level to go offensively for sure. I've got no problem with him. I think he, again, kind of like Butte, he's slow cooking over there. They're never going to give the young players all the time that they need. So once he comes over to North America, I think we'll truly see why the Arizona Coyotes, I guess at the time, drafted him 6th overall. I'm a fan of him. He's still my favorite defensive prospect from them. Maverick Lamoureux, though. Holy crap, this guy is intriguing. 6'7". Offensive demon. Like, this guy is so good offensively. You saw at the World Juniors last year, he looked okay. I think he's looked great this year, playing some NHL games, and he just has the offensive instincts that you very, very rarely see in a defenseman, let alone a 6'7" defenseman. He's the whole package, and I think if he hits his potential, he's like a top pair guy. I'm serious. I love this man. He's a really good prospect for the Utah Hockey Club. Artem Duda is he's a polarizing guy. I really liked him in his draft year, but then like last year he took an entire year off. Like the only place he played was the Toronto Metro University for 12 games. So basically a whole year of development lost for Artem Duda. I think he's been a little bit slow to adjust this year in the AHL because of that. I still think he's a solid offensive defenseman if he gets there one day. Vidi Väisänen, he's looked solid for Medicine Hat this year. Maybe a bottom pair guy one day. He's big but a smooth skater. Justin Kipke's captaining the Royals and doing pretty well. 60 points in 62 games. Thomas Lavoie is doing pretty well in the QMJHL. And then for the goalies, Michael Hrabal is amazing. This guy is excellent. 20 years old, 926 with the UMass this year. He was good at the World Juniors with the Czechs as well. I love this man. He's really quite a good goalie. 6'7" is he? He's probably my third favorite prospect, or a goalie prospect. So yeah, I'm a big fan of him, and I think that's really what takes the Utah Hockey Club over the Jets, the Blue Jackets, the Sabres, the Blues, because they all have like these really nice offensive cores, and they have strong defense. None of them really have a goalie quite like Michael Hrabal. I think he has the potential to be an elite goalie in the NHL. So yeah, that's why I have the Utah Hockey Club at 8. Underrated prospect pool, I think. And of course, Tija Ginla, he's the best. So yeah, I'm going to have them at number 8. At number 7, we have kind of an unexpected one as well, maybe for the opposite reason, as I have the Chicago Blackhawks at number 7. I think a lot of people would have them higher. But anyway, starting with their forwards, Nick Lardis is having a crazy season. What is he at? 71 goals? Yeah, 71 goals, on pace for 73. Historic season with Brantford, but is he going to be like a top-line forward? Probably not, but this guy's going to be an NHLer. So, yeah, I think he's a very good player, obviously, in the OHL. those high-scoring seasons don't always translate. I think he'll translate into a solid top 6 forward. Sacha Boisvert, he was drafted in the last draft. He's not my favorite prospect in hockey. I think he's having a solid season with the University of North Dakota. I don't think he'll ever be this... I could maybe see him as a second-line center if he gets a bit faster, gets a bit smarter. Oliver Moore, I really liked him in his draft here. He's kind of stagnated since then. I wish he was doing a little bit better on the University of Minnesota. He's playing with guys like Snuggerud, so he's not my favorite prospect in hockey. Again, I think he maybe could hit that second-line upside, but there's no guys here that are going to be top 6 forwards other than Nick Lardis and potentially this guy here, Roman Kanserov. I don't think we talk enough about this guy. 5'9", he's a tiny guy. Second-round pick. He's looked excellent in the KHL. We don't hear enough talk about this guy. He played a full year in the KHL last year, now putting up really good numbers this year. Obviously, I think he's under contract. Yeah, under contract 1 more year, so it'll be a minute until we see him in the NHL. I think he could be a top 6 forward as well. Past that, they have lots of guys who are going to be bottom and middle 6 forwards. Merrick Van Acker, I think will be a middle 6 forward. Aiden Thompson, Ryan Green, John Mustard, Martin Misiak, Jack Pridham. Overall, they don't have any elite forwards, and that's what they really need right now. So I'm not a big fan of their forward prospect pool. It has some solid players. Like, they need an elite forward, so I can't put them that high. Artem Levshinov is their top defensive prospect. I've seen this guy catch way too much flack lately. He's going to be a number 1 defenseman. This guy is so smart, and he's played some NHL games this season. 4 games, 2 points, a -7 is not great, but he's going to have problems adjusting to the AHL. It's not the same as the NCAA. I really like him still. I still think he's going to be a top pair guy. Is he going to be like a point per game defenseman? No, but I think he's going to be a solid 50-point top pair defenseman. Also a reminder that Kevin Korchinski is exempt now, so they don't really have too much other than Sam Rinzel. I'm a fan of Sam Rinzel. 6'4", having a solid season with the University of Minnesota. I honestly thought he would be nominated for some awards. He wasn't really, but yeah, I'm a fan of Sam Rinzel as well. I think he'll be a top 6 or a top 4 defenseman. Past that, Jan Peltonen maybe, but their defense just isn't strong other than that. Drew Comesso and Adam Guyan, they're 2 goalie prospects, and both these guys are kind of struggling. Like, look, he was a second-round pick, and now he's struggling with Rockford. He's doing okay with Rockford, not as well as I'd like to see him. Adam Guyan, I don't know what they were thinking on this pick. Overager, they dropped him 35th overall. He's not doing very well with in the NCAA right now. Again, these guys are goalies. They can turn it around. Numbers aren't everything with them, but they used 2 second-round picks on neither of these guys are looking like starters. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of their goalie pool, and overall, I'm not the biggest fan of their pool in general. I had to put them at the 7th spot because of Levshinov, and I think they have a really good group of safe forwards especially, but just safe NHLers. They need more stars. Come on, Bedard needs help. So that's why I've got them at the 7th spot. I know a lot of people would have them higher. I'm not as high on guys like Beauvoir and more. I get if you are, but yeah, I'm going to have them at the 7th spot here. Slotting in at the number 6 spot, I have the Carolina Hurricanes. And this pool's really intriguing. I'll tell you why in a minute. Their top forward prospect, I'd say, is Bradley Nadeau. Looks solid at the World Juniors. He's a smaller guy, but he's having a good rookie season in the AHL. Looked great at the University of Maine last year, and I think he has all the makings of a top 6 NHL winger. Reminds me of Seth Jarvis in a way, even. Nikita Artemanov, I talked about him before. I love this guy. This guy has so much hockey smarts. It's ridiculous. But yeah, he's having a great season in the KHL. Slowed down a little bit after his really hot start, but I'm a big fan of this guy, and I think he also has the makings of a top 6 winger. Even though he doesn't have that explosive speed, I think he's going to be a good point producer. Justin Poirier, this guy, not talked about enough. He's a smaller guy. Obviously, defense is a problem. Back-to-back 80-point seasons in the QMJHL. Impressive stuff. And, 18 goals in 17 playoff games last year. He looks like a really solid top 6 winger. Obviously, he has those defensive problems. QMJHL can be easy to put up points sometimes, so I always tend to kind of take a cautionary side when it comes to prospects like this, but, there's no denying his offensive ability, And the next guy I want to talk about was Alexander Rykov, because I haven't heard enough talk about this guy either. At 19 years old, and he was a 4th round pick, by the way. He's a full-time KHLer as well. He's putting up good numbers in the KHL as well. I think he is super talented offensively when he wants to be. I've kind of seen that effort is a little bit meh, but he has some really good offensive tools. If he hits his ceiling, I think you're going to get a really good second liner with him. Other than that, they have an absolute haul of guys who are going to be like middle 6 forwards, and a lot of these guys are from overseas. The 2 guys I wanted to highlight most are Felix Angersorum, because I really liked him in the World Juniors this year, and last year, and I think he will be a solid middle 6er. I'd like to see him get a little bit going in the AHL, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Felix Angersorum. And then Jaden Perron, I was really surprised when he dropped to 94 in the draft. He's a little bit slow with the University of North Dakota, but I think he'll get there one day, and he seems like a really good complementary piece who can kind of fit in any line in Carolina's system. And then on their defense, their top guy, Alexander Nikishin. This guy's 23 now. He is way too good for the KHL. He's the captain of St. Petersburg. He's led the KHL in scoring from defensemen 2 years in a row. Why is this guy not in the NHL? Because of the contract, but he definitely could be in the NHL. He's going to slot right into Carolina's top 4. He's a big guy. What is he, 6'4"? Great skater as well. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a number 1 defenseman. Scott Morrow is also a guy I'm a big fan of. Already gotten into 6 NHL games with Carolina this year. Solid rookie season with Chicago. Smooth offensive defenseman. Probably its future top 4 guy. The next guy, Dominic Badinka, 2nd round pick from this last draft. I'm a fan of him too. There's nothing too flashy with his game. He's very responsible though, and I like his skating for a 6'3" guy. Alexei Hymosalmi, I'm so sorry for butchering your name. Bit small at 5'11", but he has shown some really good offensive instincts, and he's been a little bit slow to adjust to the North American game. It looks a little bit better suited to Europe, but I think he'll adjust over time. And then one last guy I wanted to talk about was Vladimir Grudinin. Can't pronounce his name either. He's 5'10" and 157 pounds. So small, but he's been a full-time KHLer this year. And yeah, so I think that's really impressive. Overall, this defensive pool is really good. And then in the goalies, they haven't really drafted any goalies in the last few years. I'd say their top guy is probably Igor Velmelkin, who is putting up some solid numbers in the KHL this year. So overall, I think this is a really fantastic pool. And they always seem to go for like low risk, high reward guys. I love their drafting strategy. It's translated to a really good prospect pool. The only thing is I always have a little bit of caution when talking about Carolina's prospect pool, because the only thing is they're very heavily weighted on advanced analytics. Nothing wrong with that. I support that, and I think it's good. But the only thing is a lot of these prospects struggle to adjust to the North American ice, struggle to become good pros. You can put up all the numbers you want in juniors. A lot of these guys don't translate as well as the advanced analytics say. So overall, I'm still a really big fan of this pool, and I really like that they have a future number 1 defenseman in Alexander Nikishin. I just think I always take a little bit of caution. I think this would be like a top 3 pool, but I always take a little bit of caution with the Carolina pool. But yeah, so that's the Carolina Hurricanes, number 6 spot. Next up, at the number 5 spot, we have the Detroit Red Wings. And starting off with their forwards, they have lots of good forward prospects. In my opinion, their top guy is Dmitry Bushelnikov, Russian player over in the KHL. We won't see him for one more year, but I love this man. He was good in the KHL last year, excellent in the KHL this year. I think he's probably this pool's best chance of a top 6 forward. He's super talented. First round pick Nate Danielson and Michael Branstad Newgard. They're both kind of similar players, Danielson being a center though. Both of them making their way in the AHL, and then Newgard over in Norway and Sweden. I mean, like, both of them, I'm not really sure why they were drafted so high. I do see flashes of offensive instinct, but both these guys look like solid, safe liners to me. Maybe Detroit sees more in them that I'm not seeing. The rest of their pool is filled with similar high floor, low ceiling guys. Max Plant, I think, is pretty underrated. He's a really good playmaker. Carter Mazur and Amadeus Lombardi, both playing really well in the AHL this year. Mazur just got injured in his NHL debut, which was unfortunate. But yeah, I think both of them will be definitely competing for preseason spots on the NHL team. We also have Liam and Noah Dower Nielsen, two brothers here. Liam being the older one, right? Yeah, Liam being the older one. Both of them making their way over in Sweden. I think they'll also be solid third liners, hopefully to see them pair up one day. And then Jesse Kiskinen, who was acquired in the Nashville trade, wasn't he? Yeah. And he is really putting on a show in the Liga this year, almost point per game. So hopefully we'll get to see him over in the NHL in 2 more years. On their defense, their guy is Axel Sandin Pellikka. In my opinion, he is the best NHL-affiliated defensive prospect. And I'd even put him over Lev Shinov, honestly. He's a scoring threat. He started very hot in the SHL this year, slowed down a little bit, but he was excellent as the captain of the World Juniors and won defensive of the tournament, didn't he? Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, he's amazing. I think he's going to be a first-pair defenseman. I could see his ceiling being even as high as like 60 and 70 points. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Axel Sandin Pellikka. Shai Boyum, obviously, I really like Zeev Boyum. We'll see in a minute, but I don't think he quite has the offensive ceiling of his brother. He's making his way in the AHL there, having a good rookie season. William Wallinder, he was a second-round pick a while ago. He was very highly touted. He's 22 now, not really seeing too much progress, but hopefully we see him in the NHL one day. Anton Johansson, I'm intrigued what he will do because he was playing in Sweden, not really getting the ice time he wanted, I guess. And so, yeah, he's coming over to the AHL. I'm curious what he does for the rest of the season. And then their goalies is their big thing. Sebastian Cossa, a rare first-round pick as a goalie. And he was looking a little bit slow to start. And now he's already played an NHL game this season. Been really good with Grand Rapids. And then Trey Augustine, also looking really good with Michigan State this year and last year. Was their starting goalie to lead them to a gold medal at the World Juniors. And yeah, I'm a big fan of both of them. And I think they have 2 really good goalie prospects. Overall, goalie is the strength of this pool. They have the 2 best goalie prospects in the NHL, or not the 2 best, but they have the best overall goalie pool, I think. And I love that they have a future number 1 defenseman. I don't really see any of their forwards becoming top 6ers other than Bushelnikov, but I think the rest of their pool kind of makes up for that. And again, like a lot of these other pools, they have a lot of high upside guys. And overall, I think this is going to be a very strong pool that translates really well. Still need another elite forward, but yeah, I'm a big fan of the Red Wings pool, and that's why it slides in at number 5. Next up, we have the Minnesota Wild in the number 4 spot. An intriguing team here. For their forwards, I still think their top guy is Daniil Yurov. He had a really big year last year, put his name on the map, and yeah, what was it, 49 points, 62 games. He's taken a little bit of a step back this year. I still think he's going to be a very solid top 6 or maybe even top liner for the Wild. They've had success with Russian guys in the past, obviously, so yeah, I'm a big fan of Yurov. He's still my top prospect for them. Unfortunately, Liam Ogren just passed the 25-game threshold, so I can't include him. Super unfortunate because I love him. Riley Height is a good prospect as well. Fell to the last pick of the 2nd round, but this guy is just an offensive machine in the WHL. He put up great numbers back-to-back years. 117 points last year was ridiculous. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a solid NHL player as well. I don't know if he'll be like a top 6 or anything, but yeah, I like him. Ryder Ritchie, he's not my favorite prospect in hockey. I've had my doubts with him, I'm not going to lie. But he's putting up good numbers in the WHL. We'll see if he can adapt to become a third liner. We'll see. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but we'll see. Rasmus Kupalainen, I like a lot. 6'4", solid skater, and he's a good middle 6 center. He's doing well in the Finnish Liga right now, and I think he will probably make the NHL sooner rather than later, as he is just so well-rounded. And Caden Bankier, good prospect as well at 22. I think he will also be a bottom 6 center for them. And then the real X factor of this pool is Charlie Stramwell, because I mean, a lot of people have given up on this guy already. He's drafted 21st overall. He's been slow at the University of Wisconsin, switched over to Michigan State, looking a lot better. A lot of guys have given up on him already. I still think he has so much potential. He's just, I see flashes, and man, this guy could be unbeatable. I don't really know what to think of him. If he becomes a top 6 player in the NHL, and I think that is his ceiling, we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't really know with Charlie Stremmel. We'll have to see with him. For their defense, I love Steve Boyum, one of my favorite prospects in hockey. I'm saying that about a lot of guys. I love this guy. He's so good. 42 points in 36 games at the NCAA. Back-to-back really strong World Junior performances. Number 1 defenseman potential, in my opinion. And they got him at 13th overall. Great stuff from the Wild. Aaron Kiviharu, 4th round pick somehow. And this guy also looks really good. He captained Finland. Wasn't anything too crazy, but I do enjoy him. He's working on it over in the Finnish league. He hasn't really broken out offensively as much as we thought he would. I still think he's a really solid prospect. Aaron Pionk, brother of Nate Pionk in the NHL. 5th round pick, and he's really turned into a solid player. University of Minnesota Duluth, putting up really solid numbers as their number 1 defenseman, isn't he? Yeah, I think he is. I think he could honestly maybe even be a top 4 guy. He's put up really good back-to-back NCAA years. Kalen Parker could be a bottom 6 guy as well. He's been solid with a Hitman every time I saw him, plus 41 on a really good Hitman team. So yeah, I think he could be a bottom pair guy. And then with their goalies, I don't know what to think about Jesper Wallstedt because he was so good in Sweden. Comes over to the AHL. He was really good last year, and we were thinking, okay, he's going to contend for that spot. He's going to go to the NHL, be really good, be a good backup goalie, and then transition into that starter role. Well, guess what? He hasn't really been good at the AHL level this year. It's really intriguing. I'm not really sure what to think about him. He has so much potential. Like he was that elite goalie prospect. So I think we will see him become a starter. I still think he has that potential. Goalies are voodoo. They have a bad year. It's no big deal. I still think he's going to be their starting goalie of the future. We'll see. But overall, this is a really strong pool, I think. There's a few players that could either boom or bust. Stramel, Kiviharu, Wallstedt being the 3 biggest ones. So we'll see where this pool gets them, but it's really one of my favorite pools in hockey. I really like all of these guys. So yeah, that's why the Wild end up at my number 4 spot. Next up, we have the Washington Capitals, which is terrifying because they're probably going to win the President's Trophy this season. Very scary that they have the 3rd best prospect pool in hockey, but anyways, they have Ryan Leonard. This guy is incredible. If you saw him at the World Juniors, he won MVP of the tournament. He was the first-line center. He's been really good for Boston College the last 2 years. This guy, he's going to help them in the playoff stretch. In my opinion, he's going to be like a lock for like first-line, point per game, well-rounded physical player. He's the whole package. I'm a big fan of Ryan Leonard. Andrew Crystal is the next guy up. This guy is downright ridiculous. I don't know how he slipped to the 2nd round because he has 100 and he's on pace for 131 points, which is diabolical. I have no clue how this guy didn't make the World Junior team, but this guy is one of the best offensive prospects in hockey. I see no reason why he couldn't be a first liner on the Washington Capitals. I'm a big fan of him. Patrick Thomas, this guy isn't talked about enough. He's captaining the Brantford Bulldogs right now, 103 points already. So yeah, I think he's going to be an NHLer as well. Don't sleep on Ilya Protas either. His brother having a huge breakout season in the NHL, but Ilya Protas in the OHL, oh my goodness, 119 points already, and he's not a great skater, but he's really made up for it with the other parts of his game. I think he's going to be, we don't know what he'll be at the NHL level, but if he's anything like his brother, I think they have a really solid player in him as well, and guy who did not deserve to go in the 3rd round. Tarek Periskak, he was also a first-round pick for them. He's not quite the offensive totals of last year, but still a very solid player for Prince George, and I think he could be a top 6 winger as well. How many top 6 wingers can they fit on this team? They had 3 guys who really broke out at the World Juniors. Eric McTaco being one of them, heartbreaker, or broke the hearts of Canadians. 5 goals in 5 games at the World Juniors. He's been solid in the queue. Peter Sikora as well. Not Canadians are not a big fan of him either, so yeah, he's been solid over in the Czech League, point per game at the World Juniors as well. And then Miroslav Satan, 6'7", obviously very intriguing. His size in the name is really the only reason he's been getting too much recognition. Not really doing it at the USHL level this year, but yeah, we'll see what he turns out to be. On defense, Cole Hudson is looking like Lane Hudson Part 2. Maybe not quite that good, but he has been excellent. The number 1 defenseman at the World Juniors, 11 points. He was just excellent, and he's really good at his freshman year in Boston University. He could probably make the NHL next year. I think they'll probably leave him 1 more year. But yeah, I think this guy is going to be a top 4 offensive defenseman. Ryan Chesley, also, I'm a big fan of him. He looks like he's going to be a top 4 defenseman. A right-handed guy as well, which is nice. And he's captaining the University of Minnesota this year. So good for him. Vincent Iorio, I always mispronounce his name. He's going to be solid. Maybe a bottom pair guy. Got into a few NHL games in the last few years, so yeah, good. He's going to be a bottom pair guy, I think. Leon Mugley from this last draft, he is a high floor guy over in Switzerland. I don't think he's going to be anything too crazy at the NHL level. And then Cam Allen, this guy I'm not really sure about because he was having a really good offensive season this year, but then he got arrested for impaired driving, right? Yeah, it was something like that. So yeah, we'll see how his hockey career goes. Overall, they don't have any goalies really, by the way. Overall, I think it's a scary good pool. This forward pool is genuinely insane. I have no clue what the NHL is going to do once these guys make the NHL. They don't have really any goalies, which I think prevents them from being any higher than 3. But I love this pool. It's terrifying. Like, Washington is one of the best teams in the league right now. At the second place, you can probably imagine what the first one is now that I say this one. Number 2 is going to be the San Jose Sharks, and they have a lot of forward prospects. Quentin Musty, I think, is my favorite. Dealt with a bit of injury this year, but he's a great player for Sudbury. This guy is, in a word, I'd say his main trait is just power. He is so powerful. Excellent goal scorer. I think he's going to be a top 6 winger in the NHL. Igor Chernyshov is making teams regret not taking him in the first round. I don't know how he fell, but he has been excellent in the OHL. In his short stint here, he hasn't had as many games this year as he would have liked, but he's looking really good. And yeah, I think he's also a top 6 winger. Cameron Lund is pretty much toying with the NCAA at this point. I think he's going to be in the NHL next year. Don't know if he'll be a top 6 player, but I enjoy watching Cam Lund. They have 2 really underrated NCAA guys here in Joey Muldowney and Reese Laubach. Sorry if I mispronounced that. They're both solid players as well, and I think they will be good middle sixers for the Sharks. Kasper Halttunen, he's not my favorite prospect in hockey, but his shot is undeniable. This guy has incredible scoring ability. Round out his game a little bit more, and yeah, I could see him being a solid NHL player. Philip Bystead, I think he will probably be an NHLer next year, and yeah, he's putting up a good numbers in his first full year in the AHL. We'll see if he makes the team out of preseason next year. I think Cardwell will be a guy who makes the team in the preseason next year. He's already gotten into 6 games this year, putting up good numbers. And then last guy is Daniil Gushin. I think he's pretty underrated. He's doing really well in the AHL right now, and I think he could potentially be a top 6 winger. There's so many of these potential top 6 guys. He's nearing the cutoff, so I think he probably makes the NHL full-time next year, but yeah, we'll see. I'm a fan of their forward prospect pool. Holy, they have, just like the Capitals, they have so many guys who have potentially be top 6 guys. We'll see how many of them actually hit that potential, but yeah. For their defense, Shakir Makumaladulin, holy, I'm so bad at pronouncing his name. and Jack Thompson. They both just graduated. Sam Dickinson is their top guy. I don't think he's a number one defenseman, but I'm a fan of him. He's put up great numbers in the OHL. He looked a little bit, I guess, reserved would be the word at the World Juniors, and I don't think he really, like, even Oliver Bonk was playing a bigger role than him, and he's a lesser player on the London Knights than he is. So I'm not the biggest fan of Sam Dickinson. I think he's a little bit too one-dimensional for me, but we'll see if he can round out his game. I think he's definitely going to be a solid top four defenseman. It's just, will he be that top pair guy? We'll see. Eric Polkamp, he's a solid player as well. He was drafted last year in the 5th round, and he's really looking like a steal. Put up back-to-back really good years in the NCAA, playing with the University of Denver this year, so some better competition, and he's doing really well. Luca Cagnoni, he is ridiculous, putting up great numbers in his rookie year with the AHL. I think he's in competition for the top defensive scorer in the AHL, so we'll see if he makes the NHL team out of camp next year. Nate Miskey, he's looking solid with the Victoria Royals, assistant captain there. He looks like a potential bottom 6 guy. And then their goalies, Yaroslav Askarov is their top guy. He's probably the best goalie prospect in hockey, I think, and he's going to be their starter for the future. But don't sleep on Yaroslav Korostelyov. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but 7th round pick. He's doing really well in the MHL this year, posting some really eye-popping numbers. So hopefully he gets his KHL chance sooner rather than later. But yeah, overall, super strong prospect pool from the Sharks. They have one of the best forward groups, even though they don't have that elite prospect that the team in front of them has. I still think it's a really strong forward group. They even have their goalie of the future. They just need some more defensive prospects and another elite offensive forward. They should get one or both of those at the next draft. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the San Jose Sharks pool. Good reasons why they are number 2. So that leaves the Montreal Canadiens to be the number 1 prospect pool in the NHL, and I think it's for good reason. Ivan Demidov is the best prospect in hockey. Can't convince me otherwise. The numbers he is putting up in the KHL, while being completely rejected of ice time, he's been like 13th forward. He's been on the 3rd line, never gets power play time. This guy has just been undeniable. I can't wait to see him in the NHL next year. He's the best prospect in hockey. End of story. Michael Hage, I think he was named Freshman of the Year today, wasn't he? Something like that. But I think he can fill that number 2 center missing spot that they have right now. He looks really good, and I think he has a really high floor as well. Oliver Kapanen, Joshua Waugh, Owen Beck, Sam Harris. They have so many guys that have high floors that are going to be middle sixers. Luke Tuck, Arus Koivu, Florian Jacki, Sean Farrell. I could go into any one of these guys, and I mean, they're all kind of the same player. Well-rounded, offensive potential, really strong, all-around middle sixers. They have so many. I wish they would start trading a few of them, but yeah, I really think their forward prospect pool is so good. And I just glanced over some of these guys. Owen Beck is going to be the perfect third-line center. Joshua Waugh has real offensive potential. He could be a top 6 winger. Oliver Kapanen has proven pretty good in his NHL games this season. Luke Tuck, brother of Alex Tuck, he could be solid. Koivu's, obviously some NHL connections there. Jacki, he's looked great in the AHL and looking kind of like his brother, like a kind of a chaotic player, but he looks great. But yeah, I really like this forward core for them. People seem to have forgotten about David Reinbacher. It's probably because he was injured this season, but this guy is really amazing. People seem to forget about him. I still think he has potential to be a top pair defenseman if he can get over all the injuries he's had. He's just so well-rounded, and he's smart. He's smooth. Just watching him is addicting, honestly, because he doesn't really make mistakes. He does not make mistakes. It's impressive how well he has adjusted to the AHL this season, especially. But yeah, I think he's going to be at the very least a rock solid top 4 defenseman. Other than that, again, they have that number 1 prospect, past that, they have these well-rounded players, and I think one of them is Adam Engstrom. I'm a big fan of him. I'd like to see him graduate to the NHL sooner rather than later, but he's having a good rookie season in the AHL. Bogdan Konishkov, I always mispronounce his name, but he's been the captain, or he was the captain of Torpedo last year, taking a little bit of a step back offensively this year, but I do think he is going to be a top 4 defenseman as well. He's well-rounded. Luke Mittelstadt, brother of Casey, he's looked really solid with the University of Minnesota. William Trudeau, he's 22 now, so I'd like to see him make the NHL soon, but he's having a solid second year in the AHL. I'd like to see him find his offensive game a little bit, but the big X factor here is Logan Mailloux, because this guy's offensive talent is undeniable. He's a great skater for 6'3", and he's looked really good in the NHL this year. It's just, will he be able to round out his game enough? We'll have to see, but yeah, I'm a fan of Logan Mailloux. And then their goalies, I think this is where they shined as well. I wouldn't put them ahead of Detroit, but Jacob Fowler has looked ridiculous in the NCAA. A 940 save percentage, even better than his 926 last year. And then Jacob Doves has looked excellent in the NHL this year. He went on a crazy run to start. He's fallen back to earth a little bit since then, but yeah, I think they have, overall, it's the best prospect in hockey, or overall, they have the best prospect pool in hockey, in my opinion. They have no real holes. They have a superstar forward, the best prospect in hockey. They have 2 solid NHL goalies, I think. I think that's their future tandem for the next 5 years at least. They have a potential number one defenseman. Am I crazy to say David Roundbacher's a potential number 1 defenseman? I'm a fan of him. But anyways, super well-rounded. They have some high floor guys. They have some high risk, high reward guys. This prospect pool just has everything, and I think the Canadiens will really benefit from growing all these prospects, and they're going to become one of the best teams in the NHL sooner rather than later. So yeah, so that's going to do it for the video. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. That's okay. Let me know in the comments. It was great for the performance of the video. Look out for new NHL content soon, especially about the playoffs, and then also about the draft. I got to start making my mock draft. So yeah, lots of exciting things coming in the next few weeks. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.